Welcome back to Square Off. It was a startling warning from one of the Capitol's top budget writers. Take a listen.
The federal government is going to make cuts to the state of Arizona that will impact us sometime this year. The projected range of those cuts are minimum $1 billion to $3 billion most likely, but I have seen estimates of $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 billion.
Billions of dollars in cuts here in Arizona. Republican State Representative David Livingston, chair of the House Appropriations Committee, went on to compare the potential funding cuts by the Trump administration to the draconian days of the Great Recession. Listen to this plea from a Democratic rep on behalf of developmentally disabled children.
I hope you're not suggesting that we cut the services to our children.
Yes, I am.
In order to save funding.
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Representative Livingston made those remarks 2 weeks ago. This past week, he walked them back after hearing from what he said was a whole bunch of wonderful moms and parents. Livingston apologized, saying my words were not always the best choice in the last meeting. House Democratic leader Oscar de Los Santos joins us with his response. Welcome to Square Off.
Thank you for having me.
What happened there?
Well, what we saw was David Livingston predicting that the Trump administration's actions would deliver a massive blow to Arizona's economy and Arizona's budget. And as a consequence, instead of cutting ESAs, for example, which have become completely bloated, the Republicans want to cut services for children with developmental disabilities. We're talking about services for children with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. And the Democrats simply aren't going to stand for that. Those are services that are absolutely essential and that we must fund.
And those were the moms he referred to who, I guess, got to him over the weekend and changed his mind. Do you think Representative Livingston is right about those potential cuts?
I think he, unfortunately, very well might be right. We saw Donald Trump plan to offer tariffs on Mexico and Canada and then walk them back immediately because those cuts would have been devastating. He put out an executive order to freeze funding across the country, including here in Arizona. That would have potentially kicked off hundreds of thousands of people off of Medicaid, would have kicked off hundreds of thousands of Arizonans from accessing medical services. So it's quite possible that Mr. Livingston is right. But even if he is correct, Arizona has a moral responsibility to provide critical, potentially life-saving services for children with disabilities.
So interesting. This is taking me back to the Great Recession when these kinds of arguments were had. Then Governor Jan Brewer had to decide whether to cut a transplant program for Medicaid, and she did.
Right.
Federal funding does make up a large part of Arizona's state budget. Are you aware of any planning by Governor Hobbs' office, even your own staff, for the possibility of those kinds of deep cuts, which perhaps could come as soon as, or be announced as soon as March, mid-March, if Republicans can actually approve a budget?
Right. So House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and the governor's office are working hand in glove to plan for these potential cuts. But here's the difference between the Great Recession and now. The Great Recession was something we couldn't control. This would be a self-inflicted wound by Donald Trump on this economy. The two scenarios are completely different and incomparable. So we have the economy, we have the budget to fund these services. It's Donald Trump who wants to cut them.
State Republicans here are making the argument that Governor Katie Hobbs is overspending the budget, didn't provide enough money in the budget for these kinds of services. I might have the details wrong. If I do, please clarify. And what's your response?
Well, that's simply untrue and frankly ridiculous. What they're talking about is the Parents as Paid Caregivers program. This is a program.
So just one program.
This is what they're talking about. And what that program does is it allows the moms of children with autism, Down syndrome, and cerebral palsy to be trained as caregivers to their own children. They have to be certified as caregivers. They go through background checks, fingerprint clearance cards, the whole 9 yards. And the program has become so popular because there's a shortage of care workers, and that is what's driving up the cost and the need to invest in the program. We must keep that program alive.
I just spoke with Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari about what Democrats are doing to push back. A lot of frustration among Democratic voters that not enough is being done. What's your suggestion? What should happen at the federal level and the state level that would be effective?
Yeah, listen, I think Attorney General Chris Mays has been leading the charge here in Arizona against Donald Trump's unconstitutional and destructive actions. We saw that she filed a lawsuit against his unconstitutional order to end birthright citizenship. She won that lawsuit within hours of it being filed. A federal judge called it, quote, blatantly unconstitutional. I know she's looking at other lawsuits, and so I think we've just got to keep beating the drum. It's up to House Democrats here in Arizona, Senate Democrats, the governor to continue to fight for our families. You saw a very swift and strong response against the proposed federal funding freeze that again would have kicked hundreds of thousands of Arizonans off of life-saving medical care, and he rescinded that order within days. So I think when the working people of the state rise up, we can absolutely take on the billionaire oligarchs who are controlling the White House.
Democratic leader Oscar de Los Santos, have to end it there.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.